Not every treasure comes marked with a sign. Some are hidden behind a curtain of fog, or at the end of a trail no one bothers to finish. Here, silence is louder than city noise. Here, colors shift, not with fashion, but with the turning of seasons. You'll find rivers bending in ways the maps forgot to mention. You'll see cliffs rising with the elegance of forgotten giants. Even the light feels different here, slanting, soft, eternal. The more you walk, the more it feels like you're the first to see it. And maybe, in a way, you are. This is where wilderness hides in plain sight, daring you to notice. Step carefully, you're walking on secrets. This is the unseen Pacific Northwest. Hidden places I wish I found sooner. Hoh Rainforest, Olympic Peninsula, Washington. The Hoh Rainforest sits tucked inside Olympic National Park in Washington, a world apart from the ordinary. This is not just a forest, it's one of the rare temperate rainforests left in the United States. Here, mist hangs like a veil, softening every tree, every fern, every fallen log. Ancient Sitka spruce rise like skyscrapers, some older than the history of the nation itself. The Kino people, who have lived in the region for centuries, tell stories of the land's spirits whispering through the moss. When you walk the Hall of Moss's trail, it feels like stepping into a dream where green is the only language. Why so? Water drips from branches like silver threads, feeding a cycle that never seems to end. Walk along the Spruce Nature Trail and you'll hear the soft hum of the Hoh River beside you. The Hoh River winds through it all, fed by glaciers from Mount Olympus, carving a path that nourishes every root and fern. During salmon runs, the water shimmers with life, connecting land and ocean in an eternal cycle. Elk often wander through the meadows nearby, their quiet presence adding to the forest's timeless atmosphere. In winter, rainfall soaks the land with over 140 inches of water, making it one of the wettest places in the continental United States. The rainforest changes with the seasons, yet always keeps its mystical aura, as if nature itself is performing an endless symphony. Scientists study it as a rare example of temperate rainforest ecology, yet poets come here for inspiration just as often. It is both classroom and sanctuary, science, and soul. Tourists walk the trails wide-eyed, cameras ready, but no lens ever captures the immensity of green. Standing here, you understand why the forest has survived for millennia. The Hoh rainforest is not just a place to visit, it's a place to remember, to protect, and to return to. Little Crater Lake, Oregon. Imagine walking through a forest clearing and suddenly discovering a lake that looks like liquid sapphire. This is Little Crater Lake. Hidden in Mount Hood National Forest, it surprises everyone with its surreal color and icy clarity. The water is so cold that swimming is nearly impossible, yet it invites endless fascination. Old stories tell of travelers tossing objects in, only to watch them vanish into the depths without a trace. Geologists explain this with underground springs and mineral deposits, but the mystery remains part of its charm. Some visitors even say the lake feels bottomless, a natural wonder that seems to defy ordinary explanation. Surrounded by meadows that burst with wildflowers in summer, it feels like a hidden world untouched by time. Native American tribes regarded it as a sacred place, a mirror where spirits could be seen. Today, visitors come not just for the beauty, but for the mystery that lingers in the air. Step close, and you'll understand why Little Crater Lake is one of Oregon's most magical secrets. Lucille Lake. Hidden deep in Wyoming's wilderness, Lucille Lake is the kind of place only true adventurers discover. It demands effort, with steep trails and unpredictable weather, but the reward is unforgettable. The lake's waters shimmer with a piercing clarity, surrounded by cliffs that seem carved by giants. Stories from old trappers tell of nights spent here under skies so bright with stars, it felt like daylight. Explorers in the 19th century often camped nearby, writing in journals about a lake too beautiful to be real. Even today, many visitors say the silence here feels alive, as if the mountains themselves are keeping watch. Today, so hikers pass through with the same sense of wonder. In autumn, the colors of fire-red leaves against icy blue waters turn the place almost surreal. Lucille Lake isn't just a geographic feature. It's a chapter of history, culture, and mystery frozen in the mountains. Painted Hills, John Day Fossil Beds, Oregon. Deep in the heart of Oregon, Painted Hills stand as one of the 7 wonders of the state, a natural gallery sculpted by time. Located within the John Day Fossil Beds National Monument, this landscape is both a scientific treasure and a cultural landmark. Its layered hills display colors that shift throughout the day, from deep reds at sunrise to soft yellows under the afternoon sun. Each layer represents millions of years of geological change, capturing the Earth's climate story in bold, visible strokes. Geologists say the red comes from iron-rich soils, while the yellows and golds whisper of ancient floodplains. Fossils unearthed here trace back to when rhinos, camels, and saber-toothed cats roamed North America. The site is part of the John Day Fossil Beds, one of the richest fossil regions in the world. Local legends speak of these hills as sacred, a place where the Earth herself kept memories hidden in plain sight. Visitors often describe a sense of stepping back in time, as if the land itself were turning its pages before their eyes. The silence of the hill, broken only by the wind, gives the entire area an almost spiritual atmosphere. At sunset, the colors deepen into a fiery glow, leaving visitors in stunned silence. Scientists continue to study the hills not only for their fossils, but also for clues about ancient climate change. Artists and painters are drawn here as well, inspired by the natural brushstrokes of color across the slopes. Trails like the Painted Cove Trail let you step right into the palette of nature's canvas. Photographers call this one of the most surreal landscapes in America. Some even describe it as Oregon's desert rainbow. The hills change appearance with light and season, never the same 2 days in a row. No camera can truly capture the glow. No words can quite hold it. Painted Hills is not just a place you visit, it's an emotion you carry with you forever. It's Oregon's masterpiece, timeless, mysterious, and breathtaking in every sense. Smith Rock State Park, Oregon. Smith Rock State Park in Central Oregon is often called the birthplace of modern American sport climbing. Towering cliffs of volcanic tuff and basalt rise dramatically above the Crooked River, drawing adventurers from around the world. The story of this park began millions of years ago when violent eruptions shaped the rugged landscape. Today, the golden rock walls glow under the sun, making it both a natural wonder and an outdoor playground. Centuries later, pioneers passed through, leaving stories of survival in the harsh desert. Today, Smith Rock is known worldwide as a hub for rock climbing, offering thousands of routes for every skill level. But climbing is only part of the story. Trails wind through sagebrush and juniper, leading to overlooks with views of Mount Jefferson and the Sisters Mountains. The Crooked River curls through the canyon, reflecting the glowing cliffs in its calm waters. Yet the beauty is not only physical, it is spiritual. The silence of the desert carries weight, a reminder of time beyond human scale. Fossilized volcanic layers whisper stories of fire and transformation. Visitors often describe a powerful stillness, a feeling that the land itself is watching and remembering. Photographers come year-round, chasing the shifting light that turns the canyon walls into living sculptures. The land, once sacred to native tribes, still holds an energy that visitors feel in their bones. Each season brings new moods: spring flowers, summer heat, autumn light, and winter frost. Smith Rock is both a classroom and a sanctuary, where nature teaches lessons about time and endurance. For Oregon, it stands as a cultural landmark and natural treasure. It's not just a park, it's a chapter of history written into stone and sky. Here, every cliff and canyon tells a story that is still unfolding. Deception Pass, Whidbey Island, Washington. Deception Pass, stretching between Whidbey Island and Fidalgo Island in Washington, is a place wrapped in beauty and legend. The strait's name comes from Captain George Vancouver, who in 1792 felt deceived by its hidden channels and tricky currents. Today, it remains one of the most photographed places in the Pacific Northwest. The Deception Pass Bridge, built in 1935, arcs gracefully over the turbulent waters, connecting the islands like a steel ribbon. Beneath the bridge, tidal currents churn with breathtaking power, sometimes reaching speeds of 8 knots. Deception Pass State Park is Washington's most visited state park, offering trails through lush forests, sandy beaches, and rugged bluffs. The currents below the bridge create one of the most dynamic marine environments in the region, studied by scientists and cherished by divers. Families gather at Rosario Beach, where tide pools brim with starfish and anemones. On misty mornings, the bridge disappears into clouds, giving the pass an almost otherworldly atmosphere. Bald eagles circle high above, while harbor seals slip through the waves below, undisturbed by the roaring tide. Interpretive signs share the stories of native tribes, honoring their lasting connection to this land. For the Coast Salish people, these waters were both a provider and a place of spiritual meaning. Kayakers brave the swirling channels, navigating eddies that can change in seconds with the pull of the moon. Sunsets here are legendary, painting the sky in streaks of fire as the bridge glows against the horizon. Deception Pass is not just a destination, it's an experience, raw and unforgettable. To visit is to step into a masterpiece painted with stone, water, and sky. Even in winter, storms bring drama, with waves crashing against the cliffs in a symphony of power. And once you've seen it, the memory of the swirling tides and towering bridge never fades. It lingers, like a story whispered by wind and sea, waiting to be told again. Here, nature and history weave together into something larger than life. Flathead River. Born high in the MacDonnell Range of British Columbia, the Flathead River flows south as if guided by destiny. It travels 240 miles, crossing from Canada into Montana, weaving together landscapes, history, and culture. Its waters form a natural border between towering mountain ranges, the Whitefish to the west and Glacier National Park's Lewis Range to the east. For indigenous peoples, especially the Salish and Kootenai, this river was never just water. It was life, spirit, and heritage. They gathered along its shores for fishing, ceremony, and storytelling, passing wisdom from one generation to the next. The Middle Fork, born near the Continental Divide, joins with a force that adds both volume and mystery. The South Fork, meanwhile, carries the power of Flathead National Forest, guided by the engineering marvel of Hungry Horse Dam. For centuries, the river has nourished the Salish, Kootenai, and Pandorail tribes, who considered its waters sacred. Wildlife flourishes along its banks, from grizzly bears and moose to bald eagles that soar above the current. Its clear waters are also home to native bull trout and West Slope cutthroat trout, species that thrive only in pristine ecosystems. It is said that their stories still echo in the rushing current, telling tales of creation and resilience. Rafters brave its rapids, surrendering to the river's wild rhythm. In quieter stretches, the Flathead mirrors the sky so perfectly that mountains appear to float upon its surface. Photographers often wait for dawn here, when the mist lifts slowly and the valley awakens in golden light. Artists and writers come to capture its moods, though none ever fully succeed. At sunset, when the river glows like molten gold, it feels less like water and more like eternity flowing by. Every drop carries glacial memory. Every bend holds centuries of untold stories. The Flathead is not just geography. It is myth made liquid, a legend that moves and breathes. To stand at its edge is to touch the past, the present, and the infinite all at once. Here, water and spirit merge into something eternal. Mount Baker Wilderness, Washington. Mount Baker Wilderness, tucked into the North Cascades of Washington, is a place where adventure and legend collide. Rising 10,981 feet, Mount Baker itself is a glaciated volcano, visible from Seattle on clear days, towering like a white guardian. The wilderness spreads across more than 120,000 acres, offering alpine meadows, ancient forests, and roaring rivers. Native tribes long told stories of the Great White Watcher, giving the mountain a sacred presence in their culture. The mountain has long been studied by geologists, who marvel at its glaciers and volcanic activity. In fact, it last erupted in the 19th century, reminding locals that this beauty also carries danger. During the late 1800s, climbers began making ascents, and today, it remains a popular but challenging summit. The surrounding wilderness protects pristine ecosystems, from ancient cedar forests to alpine tundra. Wildflowers blanket the meadows in summer, creating a rainbow against the snow-capped backdrop. Black bears and mountain goats roam these ridges, reminders that this land belongs first to the wild. Trails guide visitors to overlooks where the snowy peak dominates the skyline. In winter, heavy snowfall transforms the area into one of the snowiest places on Earth, drawing skiers and adventurers. Glacial melt feeds countless streams and rivers, sustaining salmon runs that have shaped both ecosystems and cultures. The area also preserves a unique cultural history of logging and settlement in the Cascades, where communities once depended on these rugged lands. Even today, local towns celebrate festivals that honor the mountain's enduring presence. Here, time pauses, and you feel both small and infinite at once. Mount Baker Wilderness is not just a destination, it's an experience that reshapes your sense of beauty. To be here is to breathe with the earth, to feel wonder in its purest form. And when you leave, the memory lingers like snow on the mountain, bright, powerful, unforgettable. It stands eternal, a witness to both history and the changing skies. Idaho Falls. Idaho Falls, the proud seat of Bonneville County since 1911, is a city whose roots reach back to the Shoshone-Bannock and Northern Paiute peoples. Long before bridges and railroads, this land was part of their seasonal migration, where the Snake River's currents sustained life. In 1863, settlers established Eagle Rock at Taylor's Ferry, a crossing point that quickly became a lifeline for travelers. With the renaming to Idaho Falls in 1890, the city found its symbol in the flowing water. Today, with the Snake River Greenbelt is the jewel of downtown, where walking paths weave past gardens, public art, and the roar of the falls. Historic buildings downtown tell the story of a frontier town that grew into a thriving modern hub. Railroads and irrigation projects fueled early growth, transforming desert into farmland that still feeds the region. Every season paints the scene differently. Spring blossom, summer festivals, autumn colors, and winter snow. Standing at sunset, watching the Snake River reflect gold and amber, you feel the weight of the past and the hope of tomorrow. Idaho Falls is more than a city, it's a promise carried on the current. It is a crossroads of culture, history, and nature, where tradition meets progress. For those who stop to listen, the river still tells the story of how this community came to be. Here, the heart of Idaho beats strong, steady, and enduring. Sahalee and Coosa Falls, Mackenzie River, Oregon. Along the wild Mackenzie River in Oregon, Sahalee and Coosa Falls thunder through old-growth forests, creating one of the most breathtaking natural duos in the Pacific Northwest. Sahalee Falls, the Upper Cascade, plunges 100 feet in a single, roaring drop. Just downstream, Coosa Falls follows with a graceful 70-foot tumble, framed by moss-covered cliffs. The sound of rushing water echoes through the cedar and fir trees, a symphony of nature's raw power. These waterfalls were carved thousands of years ago by lava flows that reshaped the Mackenzie Valley. Today, they remain timeless guardians of the Cascade Mountains. Legends say the falls were places of cleansing and renewal for native tribes who once lived nearby. Walking the waterfall's loop trail, you can feel the mist on your face and the vibration of the earth beneath your feet. The turquoise waters glow under sunlight, carrying glacial memories from the high peaks. Trails weave along the river, leading you through one of the most enchanting walks in the Pacific Northwest. At every turn, you hear the river's song, wild, unrelenting, eternal. These falls symbolize the intersection of nature's power and human history. They are not just tourist attractions. They are cultural monuments, sacred to the land and its people. Visiting Sahali and Coosa Falls is to step into Oregon's past while standing in its present beauty. Lake Crescent, Olympic National Park, Washington. Lake Crescent, set within Washington's Olympic National Park, is both a natural wonder and a cultural landmark. This deep glacial lake, reaching depths of over 600 feet, was carved by ancient ice that once dominated the Olympic Peninsula. Its name dates back to the 1800s, when settlers marveled at its crescent-like shape. For the Clallam people, however, it had long been a place of stories and survival. Oral traditions speak of battles between tribes, with the lake forming as the land split apart. For centuries, native tribes lived along these shores, calling it a place of abundance and spirit. It's a place where time slows, where nature's voice is the only one that matters. Some call it peaceful, others call it hauntingly beautiful. Lake Crescent is not just a stop on a map, it is an experience, a memory etched forever. To stand here is to be humbled, to feel small against the vast embrace of water and mountain. And when you leave, a part of its stillness stays with you, like a reflection carried in your heart. Cape Arago, Oregon. If adventure has a coastal address, it's Cape Arago on Oregon's southern shore. Here, trails plunge from forest to sea, leading you to hidden coves and tide pools bursting with life. The sea crashes endlessly against basalt cliffs, sending mist into the air like breath. In the early 20th century, wealthy timber baron Lewis Simpson built a mansion here, filling the gardens with exotic plants. The house is gone now, but the gardens remain, a strange elegance beside the raw coast. The Umpqua and Coos tribes once gathered shellfish and hunted here, leaving stories etched into the land. Even today, The place feels like it carries their memory. To stand at Cape Arago is to feel Oregon's coast at its most wild and unforgettable.